I see the beautiful decorations.
I just had one flower pot in my room, so it didn't look really nice. So I said I'll come out here and sit by the tree.
Awesome. So I think we are going to start on time. There is a lot to cover, and I'm going to start with a quick welcome and introduction. So welcome everyone. My name is Dipali, and I lead the Allyship at Women in Streaming Media. Welcome to our Ally of the Month call. So this call is recorded for the convenient viewing to ensure everyone can learn. And Women in Streaming Media spans globally, so our members can watch this video as per their convenience on our website. So let's start on time to ensure we cover everything. Every month we connect on the Ally of the Month call to recognize and celebrate the efforts highlighting individuals in the streaming media industry who actively supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also acknowledge the impact, demonstrating how the individual's action contribute to positive change at the workplace. And to build inclusive culture, reinforce the importance of allyship in creating supportive and inclusive environment. Create awareness, which is very important. Use this session to help everyone understand the concept of allyship. Emphasis on allyship is everyone's responsibility. And to share the best practices. This is a platform for our allies to share best experiences, practices, and strategies that others can learn from them. We also encourage the positive behavior, motivate others to take the similar actions by showcasing the real life examples of allyship at work. Create the continuous engagement in the streaming media industry. Keep the conversation around diversity, equity, inclusion actively and ensure it remains the priority throughout the year. And also foster the collaboration, connecting employees with like minded individuals across the team to encourage the collective efforts in the streaming media industry. I'm going to now quickly go through the agenda. Today's call is packed up with exciting content as always. First, I'll briefly introduce you to the Women in Streaming Media Network and our allyship program, especially for our new members. Next, I will introduce today's Ally of the Month, and following that, we will engage in exciting AMA session with our guest. We do have curated questions for our Ally of the Month, but feel free to ask anything using the chat window. Finally, we will conclude the call by sharing our upcoming event details. So let's get started. With the new members joining in often, let me quickly introduce to the Women in Streaming Media Network and our allyship program. As a global networking organization, our mission is to increase diversity and give more visibility to women leaders within the streaming media industry. Our membership is free and offers the opportunity to connect with a supportive community across the areas of streaming media industry. It also gives the opportunity to connect with other women in the streaming media space, video technology space, broadcasting, and OTT platforms and related industries. Our speaking engagement team provides the Women in Streaming Media members platform to showcase their experience and contribute to the industry discussions. It's definitely important to mention here, we have played a key role in placing female leaders worldwide in the keynote panels, webcast, and podcasts. We believe education is the key for personal and professional success, and we inspire the next generation through our engaging outreach activities. Our education pillar empowers the women in streaming media by offering the resources and opportunities for the growth at every stage of the career. Our award winning mentorship program is based on the foundation of educate, connect, and empower. Sometimes the best way to reach our potential is to learn from someone with the experience. And 2024 is our sixth cohort. Mentorship program is completely free for our members. Talking about the Allyship, we launched the Allyship program in January 2024. And it means creating a workplace culture in the streaming media industry where women's voices are amplified and their contributions are valued. With our allyship program, we are creating a network of allies to lead by example. Our allyship program is a core of our network. Allyship in the workplace is an important aspect of fostering an inclusive environment for all the employees. It involves the individual active support for the women, creating a sense of belonging and promoting diversity. It also recognizes that allyship is about taking the meaningful steps. It sets a benchmark for other men, showing the how to be effective allies with the consistent efforts. And we would love to see more leaders in the streaming media industry stepping up to lead by example. Our allyship program offers a flexible structure like AMA session, panel discussions, workshops, knowledge sharing session, everything which our members are asking for. And now, with this introduction, it's time to introduce our Ally of the Month. Let's meet Ajey Anand, is the CEO and co-founder of Norigin Media. Norigin Media is a Scandinavian TV tech OTT solutions company, and Ajay's mission is to enhance user experience across the streaming services on any device. He's passionate about TV apps and UI and UX technologies for top quality OTT experience, such an important aspect of the streaming media business. And let's start with Ajay. Let me welcome you, Ajay, first. Welcome to the Ally of the Month call. And we would love to know more about you. Can you tell us more about Norwegian Media, how it is started, and what does company do?
Thank you so much for that the introduction, Dipali. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. It feels really good to contribute any small amount that I can to your program, to your goals, which you spend so much. So first of all, congratulations for running something that's visible to me quite often enough within the industry. Quick introduction to myself and Norigin Media. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Norigin, as you said. We're a Scandinavian company. We're based in Oslo in Norway. And what we do, as you mentioned, that I'm passionate about TV apps, not just streaming them, but also what goes into making them in terms of design and technology. That's all I've been doing for the last 20 years. So I would imagine that there must be some passion to this topic for me. And it's evolved a lot over the years. We started off 20 years ago here in Oslo as a startup company with making mobile small streaming apps as a part of the national public broadcaster NRK. We've since expanded with the work that we do in countries within the Nordics where we're quite strong, but also in Europe and now soon in America too. Um, the idea of starting the company and being in TV has always been a big part of what I've been doing. I've started my career with News Corp and ad sales, nothing to do with technology or TV apps at the time. And I joined the company thinking I'm doing ad sales in the streaming world, and I was completely wrong. People assumed I was Indian, I should know technology, and I didn't know it. And I came in saying that if I want to do this job, I want to certainly take it to foreign countries and cultures, which has always been a big part of me and the work that I want to do. And all of this makes my job more important and more relevant to myself, first of all, on a personal level and a professional level, where streaming has not just pretty much been invented 20 years ago, but also evolved every year since. It's an industry that's rapidly changed. Being 2 years old in the industry makes you an expert. Simply because what you've learned in the recent past is what that's relevant and not the history that it comes from. But then again, as with any good technology, one needs to keep pace with it. I'm based in Oslo, but the company has offices in both Spain and Guatemala, where we work with our colleagues who are based over there. But we need to figure out how to work as a Norwegian company who's going to America soon.
Wow, that's amazing. And thanks for the, detailed introduction about yourself and the organization. And let me start with, a very important question. Allyship at work is crucial, and I would love to know, what does the allyship mean to you, and how have you seen it demonstrated effectively in the Norwegian media as an organization?
I think I think that's a part of who we are as a Scandinavian company. Scandinavia being, I would say, very, very socialist and equal in many aspects. We first of all think it's an innate part of our nature, whether it's personal or professional. In the company, we're more of a building a sense of we concept where it's a flat organization. I can make sure that everyone has a voice and opportunity. There is no discrimination. It's not about being a woman or being Indian or being anything separate and difficult and different. It's about everyone's the same because we're here as professionals and we're also human beings and personal beings. So we just need to make sure that we have a sense of equality, which is innate within the region. Within the workspace, I think that representation, whether it's women or whether it's different nationalities, it's extremely important. And not because that is the goal. I think when you have different sorts of people who bring in technology and who grow technology, it works very well. For me, it's important to make sure of diversity of any senses, simply because it's important when you're doing business in many countries. You need to be culturally aware. You need to be able to speak different languages or understand mentalities and temperaments that come with different cultures as well. And whether you're men or women, I believe that you bring certain personalities and dynamics to a team. And I think that in a professional sense, all of this needs to work. I think we encourage, first of all, starting from our recruiters to make sure that we get good enough applications at the onset in different levels, different domains. Um, in the tech field, it's not easy. We're a tech company. We're a small company. We're about 50 people. We have nearly 15 nationalities, though. We've got 25 to 30% women. Um, am I proud of it? Certainly. I've seen companies who have one nationality and no women. And I wonder to myself as to, are they even thinking right? Because without these different perceptions that they can't get without the different kind of people, I don't think it's possible to run a company in an international space at all.
I totally agree. And we need the more diverse voices. I think it's not about just the streaming media industry, but for every industry, it's required. And as you rightly said, being in the tech environment or tech company, it's more difficult. And you have spent a long time in the industry. And can you share some example of an ally, male or female, who positively impacted your career? And what stood out about their support to you during your journey?
I'm not saying woman because I have to, because it was. The first two people who hired me in my first two jobs have been women. I think at least the one I worked with the longest. I joined News Corp 20 odd years ago, and I worked in ad sales. It was a woman who hired me, and I think I worked very closely with her. To this date, first of all, there's many aspects of my professional career that I have to thank her. I was not mentored as a mentorship, but I think I just had the opportunity to work closely with a ambitious, strong personality. And you can take and absorb what you can if you're given the choice and chance to work with and closely with people who are strong and who've done well for themselves. Um, it was positive. I've taken the negatives as a positive in that time, and I've learned a lot from being yelled at on my first day to being given many, many promotions in a short period of time because not only did I ask for it, but I was told to earn it with certain goals and KPIs, which was very, very clearly listed. And I think that closeness in a professional environment is extremely important between uh, colleagues because at the end of the day, we're all people. And I think that putting labels on your own professional career as you being a CEO, not being able to talk to an assistant. These things don't exist, first of all, in the Scandinavian culture, but certainly shouldn't in a workspace. And I think that that proximity to work with leaders in an early part of my career and has impacted me in a very, very huge way.
That's amazing. And year 2024 is almost over. Like we are in the December. I think this week or next week is going to be a last week for most of the organizations to, kind of work, and then everyone is off for the Christmas. So, what specific challenges you see in the streaming media industry faced this year, where the allyship made a difference?
Within the streaming media industry, we're more on the technology side. Being on the technology side, we of course have marketing and digital design and all of these other supporting functions that we need to have as a business. Within the technology aspect of the bigger part of the business, recruitment is a challenge in any sense, whether you're a man or a woman. When I need to find a video streaming expert to be based in Oslo or Madrid or Guatemala. These are the three specific spaces that we'd like to hire at or ask people to move to because of the proximity to our teams. It's already difficult regardless of gender. And I think adding another layer of saying, can we have women in the team, which is quite important for us, simply because it adds a certain amount of dynamics, as I've said, it becomes even more difficult. We have asked our recruiters to, or anybody to give us any sort of introductions and CVs across the domains that we work with in the company. From a professional side of things, what we offer to our customers, we do design of applications with UI, UX. We do engineering, which is both software and architecture. We do project management, and we do quality assurance and testing. Certain job functions have more women in the teams from design and quality assurance because of the pool of CVs that we get in. But the core of what we do is engineering and technology, whether it's planning or whether it's actual development, front-end development that we do. I think that not just with recruitment, but I think that getting women to believe that they have strong careers within this is quite important, which are challenges that we should face because when we go into Norwegian universities and we check the numbers of engineering students on the women's side of things, we see that numbers are less at the very starting point already. But that's not the case in many countries, but at least here in Scandinavia, it is a case where we see that there is no gender equality already from the education system itself. So that's something that we need to do. And I think we're trying to figure out how we can work this at the early start of people's careers. So we work with student groups where we take on at least one group every year and we make sure that women are a part of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this because our education pillar, which is constantly working on trying to, give the resources and required support at the early stage of the career to the women in the field, because we strongly believe that education is the key to personal and professional success. And what happens is, if we don't give the enough support at the early stage of the career, then obviously they're not going to be ready for the future. And that's where, like, if you're working on those, areas, it's amazing. Definitely you're creating a next generation of women for the tech ready industry. So my next question is going to be on the industry challenges. Like, one is, you have seen, like, you get the challenges to find out the resume. Do you think there are any areas in the streaming media industry still struggle to support women, like tech, content, engineering, marketing, like you mentioned about the tech, but are there any other more areas, do you think, that still struggling to get the support for women?
I mean, we work in all of these domains, whether it's marketing, whether it's design, whether it's QA, where we have more women than men. But we do have women, of course, in project management, in engineering as well. I think the strength is to figure out how to train and give access, not just to women, but all to your whole staff to see what they want to do. over a period of time. And I think human beings in general wants to evolve. And I believe that we should give them opportunities, and we have in this company at least. So if a quality assurance engineer wants to become a developer, if a developer wants to become a project manager, and take on new roles of responsibility, which gives them the right amount of, let's say, experience that they have, that they need to take to the next level, and they want to grow in their careers, we give them the opportunity to train themselves, to support them with training, and given them the opportunity with KPIs and goals, of course, if certain things are met and achieved at a certain amount of time. This needs to come from our staff. We can only give them opportunities, and we can, lead a horse to the water, but there's only so much that one can do. But you should be able to be open-minded enough to allow change of career paths within a company. I think when we talk about design and QA, we have more women than men, but these are in job roles that require a certain amount of aesthetics, which do come with the job title itself. And I think that that comes in pretty well. But then again, with engineering and project management, that's where we need to have more leadership and roles that are responsible by given to women.
Right. And now we know, like, industry faces these challenges. We would love to know from you, like, how can male allies such as yourself or male leaders actively support and encourage their female colleagues to participate in the industry events like Northern Waves in Oslo, and why participation is such why participation at such conferences is valuable for the career growth.
Yeah, I mean, Northern Waves for us is it's not our main job role. It's become a very important conference within the Scandinavian region, without us understanding how big it's become. We just had it last month in October in Oslo. It was very, very well attended, and the idea of Northern Waves is to create a network within the streaming industry in itself, with cross domains, whether you are a business person, a product person, a technologist. I think that first of all, we need to encourage a sense of singularity within all of these domains, because there's already certain differentiations between what you do at a job role rather than the industry and your gender in itself. And I think to bring all of these domains together was the main focus. But over the years, I think because the format of streaming media and the technology conferences, as you can see, whether you go to IBC or NAB, you see a lot of men in this male-dominated industry. And how does one give the opportunity is through the sources that we have. In with Northern Waves, we had about 12 keynote speakers. We had 5 women speakers. It's not easy to fill the spots with women. I actually go out of my way sometimes and ask invited men speakers to see if they have any women colleagues who would prefer to take their role instead. It's that kind of work that we need to actually put in. But we achieved. I was quite happy with this year, where I would say it's not 50%, which is always the goal, but close enough, more than 30%, which is the amount of women that we have in this company, which is the absolute lowest that we should go. And we had the opportunity not just as having women in keynote speaking positions, but we also encouraged it and made it look grander than it is by giving them key slots within the agenda in the afternoon, and you put 4 women one after the other. It looks like there's good enough female representation. And why is that important? Because we're making it seem normal. We're making it seem like an industry. And I think that people call it as it is by saying it's a male dominated industry because they see more men in every other meeting. But I think if they see more women and get spotlight positions, I think that that's a starting point to make it more the norm.
I totally agree. And you know that, as I mentioned earlier, our speaking engagement team is kind of working constantly on building the database of female speakers. So whenever you have such challenges, please feel free to reach out to us. And we have the amazing speakers with us. And for the audience and members, just for your knowledge, Northern Waves is a conference that brings together broadcasters, cable, and pay TV innovators for learning and networking in the TV tech industry. It's considered to be a largest streaming TV conference in the Nordics region. So, as an organizer, Ajay, Northern Wave Conference of the organizer of the Northern Wave Conference what has been your experience finding the female speakers, like from first year till today? What are the challenges or successes you have encountered? Like you mentioned about, some of the extra steps you are taking, asking the, male speakers. But apart from that, how can allies help to ensure more women take the stage at such industry events, not just this event, but for other events as well?
I think, as you would know, with any international conference, making budgets for it, making time for it, and finding the right people who have the right interests is quite difficult. And we always have this conference at the back of our mind in our day-to-day jobs. Every time that I've ever had intelligent speakers in meetings, I've always already invited them to Oslo in October to come and be a part of the show, whether it's men or women. And certainly, if it's sometimes it's women, we just need to make sure that they come and make it completely easy for them to be there in terms of scheduling, in terms of just being present and anything else. It's quite hard to get women in tech and engineering to be a speaker in an event like this because they're not a dime a dozen. They're very, very few, first of all, and they're rather busy with their careers, and they don't want to be a part of anything else. So we try to make it easy. I can tell you a couple of times we've actually paid women speakers to be a part of the event, and they've and we've done our bit because these are professional speakers as well, and we've always ensured that if, as a small conference, if we pay anyone, it's going to be a woman. So we and also women who are tech leaders, who bring in a sort of understanding and example to for people who listen to it, because there is a certain sense of decoration within presentations made by women, which are always better than what men can ever do. And I think that that's comes from the innate design nature that comes with the space as well. And I think that when you speak about having inclusivity, we need to make it not just women, people from different countries, people from different cultures, and people from different domains from within the industry. And so to make sure that we draw up an agenda that we believe that people will pay to fly to Oslo, be a part of our 1 day long event, we need to make it worth their while as well. So we make sure that we spend the right amount of time that we spend already. I think we've started working on next year's event already, and we'll start making a list quite soon.
Excellent. So my next question is going to be on the workplace culture. I think culture is a very important part of any organization. Like, what is the culture? I personally see, and I have heard it from many professionals, that what you see first in the organization while choosing your next project or next job is the culture. So, as a leader, how do you contribute to create a workplace culture where everyone feels valued, respected, and included? Because culture is, um, it's made by people, and mainly it comes from the leader.
I think culture is just born within a space and it evolves with time. And I think a leader needs to make space and have give the opportunity to allow it. In a small company, sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's more difficult as well, because we need to ensure that there is the right amount of space and support that we can provide to the colleagues that we have. Um, in terms of building and bringing the right people together, as I've said before, nationalities, women, people who have different technology skills come in at the right time, at the right space. And we make sure that all of the teams that we have within the company has at least some sort of representation of these aspects. Finding a women engineer is not very easy, and then making sure that they join you because they have a whole lot of opportunities ahead of them is a more difficult question and role. So when we do have the people that we have, we make sure that we give them the right amount of training, the space that they need to do to learn, to work closely, and more importantly, having a flat organization so their voices can be heard is quite important. When you allow everyone to have a voice, it's not about the loudest person getting their voice across, but also making sure that you hear the ones that who don't speak and speak up for them. And that's what we try to believe in this company, and how we've allowed responsibilities grow for the person, whether they say it or not. It's quite important that they have a voice and it's heard by people. And that's a leader can only make sure that a voice that's not heard is actually heard. And then what we do with that is the next step that we need to figure out. And that's case by case, of course.
Absolutely, and very well said. Like, voice which is not heard should be heard. Most of these streaming media companies, like, are global and multicultural. And like almost all of them are available everywhere because of the this nature of the business. It's far easier to travel globally with your platform. My question is like, how can allies navigate the cultural nuances to foster the inclusivity and actively support women from the different backgrounds?
I think there are two aspects here, whether it is backgrounds or women or different domains in a company. In terms of fostering inclusivity and actively bringing people together, you need to physically be together. I think there's only so much one can communicate on a video call such as this. Whether it's events in the company or events in the industry, we need to be a part of it and make sure that we support a lot of social activity and engagement to make sure that we enjoy the job that we do in the office, outside the office, in conferences, outside the conferences. And, at the end of the day, if human beings, people like to do their job or people like to be with other people, I think that you can contribute to a multicultural, acceptable area within the industry. How we do this, I have ideas of celebrating we have 15 nationalities, but we don't really celebrate all of the festivals at all of the cultures that we have every time, but we do so every time that somebody makes an initiative, we do make it the norm. But I think it's more important that there is a sense of camaraderie of people, regardless of where they come from or what their cultures are, because at the end of the day, that should be irrelevant. And I think that that should be either private or public, depending on that person's individual's idea of who they are and where they come from. And that's only a personal matter at the end. When we want to increase such kind of acceptability and inclusivity, we want to make sure that these are done through social activities. We want to do this at work, but we also do this in conferences. I think we'll talk about how we want to do this as a part of an extension of this conversation, how we want to encourage a activity probably at the next event. One of those events that we're going to is NAB in Las Vegas in the spring. And that's something that we can start planning with along with your own organization, just to make sure that we make something out of it and we create some noise and we make it more the norm.
Absolutely. And I'm going to share my screen once again so that our members can actually see what we are talking about. Just a second. So would you like to talk about this initiative, which we are going to announce later in 2025?
Absolutely. I think that, like I've said, I think if you don't create noise around anything that you do, I think this is a great starting point that you first of all invited us to be a part of this, and it would break my heart not to take this further to the next step. So what we've put together is a plan where we build a media landscape represented by not just companies, but the women who have different functions in in this streaming media industry. The domain is quite vast, and we do such a small part of it. And we do the front end apps, we do design, development, and engineering. But then again, there's companies who manage video, who production, different aspects of the value chain. Streaming media has a very, very long and detailed aspects of it, which needs to be represented at the end of the day by people. Many of these companies have women in across different job functions, whether it's marketing, design, engineering, and project management. And I think that creating a media landscape that is representative of the humans is humanizing the industry in itself. Representation and visibility of women is something that we can put together. So my colleague Valerie and I, we're putting together this sort of media landscape, and we're going to be inviting as many women as possible to be a part of it, to encourage a sort of, I don't know what it's going to be. Let's see where the women want it to go. It's their directory, it's their landscape. We want to make sure that they're represented well in a professional and in the industry that we're a part of, and we put it to good use. Whether it is growth aspects, job opportunities, whether it's collaborative partnerships, whether it's just networking for whatever reasons that you want to make your profession fun. We don't know where it'll go, but we want to give it a couple of months' time, and we've started doing it I believe, today, and we'll start inviting women to collaborate with themselves. We need to start somewhere, and we can't define what the goal is without the people who are going to be involved with. We'll hope to get, I don't know, 50, 100,000 women as a part of it, and then we'll add that many men as well, so to make sure that it's completely inclusive and it becomes the norm. I think it's an exciting idea. I don't want to have the end result already ready here. So I think we're already started debating this and we'll see where it grows out to be. We'll give ourselves 3 months again because we just need to have a sort of goal and deadline. We've said let's see where this ends up at NAB in Las Vegas because it's a large industry event, and I know a lot of people travel to one space, and it's important to have something more, concrete and physical.
Absolutely. And I always say this, like, allyship is more important, and whether it's your individual efforts or whether it's your, structural efforts, if you're at a leadership role, or if it is interpersonal efforts, everything matters, and every single step is important. So Norigin Media is focused on the improving user experiences, and there is a wide variety of devices and platform available today across the globe. There is itself diversity in the streaming media industry, and it's one of the challenges, like devices and connectivity, and within the streaming media industry is a kind of challenges. So I want to know, what can allies do to ensure the diverse perspectives, especially women in streaming media industry, are included and respected in design and engineering process?
From a design perspective, we I would say that we've only worked with women designers simply because they made the cut more than the men. Unfortunately or fortunately, it's been the case in our company, and we work with a lot of other companies and broadcasters who UI UX is highly represented by women in the industry. I think the attention to detail is a huge factor over here, which makes sure that there is good quality. And then in terms of multi-screen experiences across a range of devices, there's a lot of quality aspects and quality assurance, which again, women are leading positions in this industry, in this domain within the industry as well. We have made sure of the freedom of design coming in from the women. We ensure that it's quite a collaborative process with engineers in general. We make sure that women understand the needs of engineering, if not directly working in engineering, they can contribute towards the planning and the design of engineering as well as the UI UX in itself by making sure that people work and collaborate with each other directly. We make sure that the designers speak directly with architects and developers to make sure that they understand engineering, if not know it to do it themselves, so that they can contribute towards building the technology that they have designed at the end of the day. And the way I think the only way that we can help what we can do within the industry is to ensure that people get to work with each other and get trained for it over the period of time that they work.
Absolutely. And I love the, word called freedom of design. That's like, very, very important. I'm about to ask you a challenging question, as it can be a difficult to quantify the impact of allyship effort because it's such a vast topic, and it can be a smallest effort, like allowing a female colleague to speak in the room full of male, or sometime just asking her, "Are you okay?" if she's feeling not heard of. So, in terms of the allyship effort, it's difficult to quantify the impact of the allyship efforts. And what it means to be an ally can vary greatly from person to person and organization to organization. How do you hold yourself accountable for being an ally? What steps you take constantly to learn and grow as an ally? I
I
know it's
think
a difficult question.
I think I would be making up stories if I have to say what steps I take to be an ally. But I think speaking of with what you've just said, if whether you're, whether you're a woman or a man who has, like I've said before, if they don't have a voice to be heard, to make sure that they have, it's not about coming out and speaking in front of a crowd. I would push a woman to sing in front of a crowd. I think that you were at the event where one of my colleagues, sang so beautifully. She's a very shy colleague of mine who said, I can sing. And that's all she said. And I can assure you, I forced her to sing and I made sure that she practiced and I made sure that she was comfortable. And I also did go to her a couple of times saying, am I pushing you too much? Because one thing is about making sure that women get the stage. You don't want to push them as well just because you want a woman on the stage. But this is about human nature more than whether it's a man or a woman. And I think that the fact that I could hear a voice and to allow that to happen, it's these are things that I don't recall. I just thought of it when you said the sentence the way you did, and I didn't think much of it. And I think this is the kind of leadership that I would hope that everybody is and support their colleagues, because there are different types of people, some who are introverts and some who are extroverts, and I think that they should be treated equally, whether it's the gender or whether it's the role in the company. Um, that's one single aspect. I think, like I said, also that being invited to speak here, you're already given a certain amount of responsibility. And that's the reason that we want to spend time on it to make sure that we use this opportunity. Of course, there's an ulterior motive. And I think that any marketing and support that Norigin does, we get our logo on your website too. So I think that there's a certain aspect of give and take. But I think that in this company, I feel very, very good to give. And I think that if you give a lot, you get a lot. And I think that being out there and making sure that a lot of women are a part of it, I think first of all, we would get a lot of creative ideas for the job roles that we do, and we make a network that is helpful to us in the industry that is ever growing. We go to events to network as well. And if we can host an event for the directory that we're trying to build, that we've commissioned just now, we hope to make that a very, very big and productive one. The directory that we're going to be sending out does not just talk about you being a woman. It talks about what you do in the company, how you think challenges are going to be addressed. It's going to talk about what your company does, because at the end of the day, there's a professional aspect to what we're trying to build. And that's why we want to give it some time, because we're very, very open to feedback to make sure that whatever we build does not help us, but helps the industry in itself. And I think it's quite actionable that we will spend time with you and your organization. We can learn so much with you. And I think that we've already started doing that in the few months that we've met. And I think that it's important that we use this as an opportunity to grow within the industry. And, if we end up doing good things that'll last, why not start now?
Absolutely. And my question, another question, which is again one more challenging question. Could you share a bit about how you actively work on overcoming the unconscious biases? Like you spoke about some, biases, and this is the kind of, thing we always talk about, especially in the decision-making situation. What steps have you taken, if any, to become a more effective ally?
I think that I think one should not sacrifice anything to let go of a bias or anything else, but one should be conscious of it. If you read the rules of sustainability, if you make it hard for yourself to sustainably make sure that you think and consciously be aware, I think these things are going to become quite difficult to address a challenge. When you talk about any sort of particular step that I've taken in a decision-making process, I have very consciously said that this company will be the most flat organization that I can think of. And I struggle every day, because it's an innate nature for a leader to also have a hierarchy and have an organization which is top down. And of course there's a time and a place for it to be, but then again, to also make sure that it's a flat organization where everybody have a say, it's democratic, it's quite difficult. And I can assure you that it's a little bit of a sacrifice when you say you let go of your own powers to make sure that a company is flat, and you have to hear opinions, whether you believe in it or not, to give it the time of day and the light of time. So to make sure that, to see if somebody's opinion actually works, you can only give it time and effort that you have to do by listening to them. In a flat organization, the difference between a really flat organization and a hierarchy-driven one is it takes time, it's inefficient, it sometimes even translates to be a wrong opinion by the time it goes to the right person. So the the fact that I would be raising my hands as one of those micromanagers is because I work with everybody and I make sure that I have a direct contact with each and every person in this company for the work that they do. And sometimes it helps knowing a person for the relationship that you have as a person. And that's not possible, of course, with everybody in a company. And wherever it needs, it becomes a good and friendly professional relationship, I always encourage it.
Excellent. Allyship is new leadership, like many of leaders I've seen in the industry who are kind of working on the allyship part. Um, in the tech company or tech-focused company like Norigin Media, how can male allies effectively support female engineers and designers in overcoming the stereotype and achieving their fullest potential in their technical roles? Like once they have the seat on the table, they are there with their qualifications, but how can the allies can help them to achieve their full potential?
Training and explaining, making time. The bigger engineers here are men. There are women who are a few, but there are who I would argue some of them are more intelligent than many other men. But then again, we have women who are not in engineering roles but work closely with them. I make sure that a designer who has nothing to do with engineering tries to understand technology, and if there is an interest, right? So it's a two-way street. If there is an interest to learn, there she or he is given an opportunity with the men on the engineering side. I think that it's very, very important whether you're in a marketing, whether you're in sales, or whether you're a non-engineering role in a company, you're trained to the right levels by the male engineers who are there, who basically would give you the support, the encouragement, and the simplified understanding of what technology companies do. We do this not just with training periodically, but we also do this with our student project where we shortlist a bunch of 4 or 5 students from a design and tech company school here in Norway. We spend about 6 months with them, not just giving them an opportunity and direction and mentorship program to make sure that they build something that we can actually use, but give them an example as to how they can work amongst themselves in a professional environment right after university, which is a decent sized pool of tools talent that we tap at the right time. And sometimes we've hired people directly after this student program into the company, and they're a part of us. Some of them who have lasted many, many years as well as their first job.
Excellent. I'm going to quickly check if any questions in the chat window. Okay, no questions so far. So 2024 is almost over. As we head into the new year,
Sorry,
what advice you offer?
I do have a question.
Oh, sorry, I haven't seen. Sorry, Florence, go on.
Yeah, Dipali, yeah, thank
Sorry,
you.
I can't see. I was not able to see this the screen. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is around allyship. I think this is great, right? Um, how how would you what advice would you give in terms of if you have many allies at places of work, internally, externally, um, or how do you connect? So let's say you wanted a male person at work to be an ally, right? Like, because like either something that they do well or whatnot. How do you connect with them and how do you maintain that relationship, right? Just going on. Just any ideas or how you would prefer?
How I would support and be an ally to somebody who would ask for some sort of support to me.
Yeah.
How I would prefer a very clear question, a direct question, whether it's a friendly one or a professional one, right? So I think that if you don't ask, you don't get. I think that a lot of people assume that their intentions are very visible, even if it's not stated out loud. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And some things is always better put in words to avoid misinterpretations in a professional sphere. I think writing succinct emails and messages to make sure of whatever you're looking for is coming across very, very well in a simplified manner. Also, I think that I don't know if that would be a professional request or a personal request to support you professionally. I think that regardless of which, you're asking for somebody's time, which should be respected. I think that that's not whether you're a man or a woman or a leader or a junior person in a company, there is a certain amount of time that you put to the job. Some people like me have zero time limits, and some people like many people who, and they should have, in Norway, we have 7.5 hours, in which we should respect as well that they're not getting paid to do the job that they are being asked, whether it's coming from your boss, a colleague, or somebody you don't know in your organization. I think the simplest is to make sure that your request, your thoughts are put into words, sent formally or informally, as long as it's respectful, as long as that's clear. I think that it's also, and also as long as you're okay to receive a no, because your interest does not need to be another person's interest as well. And people need to make time and have the right potential for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is a great
If you
question.
don't ask, you don't get, right?
Yeah,
Don't
and
have to, don't get. And if you don't demand, you don't get to.
I know, and this is the one, my personal experience when we started this allyship program. I realized that if you don't ask, you're not going to get. And the most importantly, value the time of allies who are ready to help. If you clearly communicate what you're looking for, I think industry is very inclusive. People are very kind to support. It's all about how you reach out. And coming back to, how to identify ally, I think those are quite visible with their actions. Like women feel safe around them. Women definitely feel to talk to them. And you can easily figure out with their behaviors. This is the one question I always see coming from the different, members, like, how do we find out whether this person is ally or not? But great answer. I'm really going to encourage the members to see this episode. Okay, so as we head into the new year now, uh, what advice would you offer to your colleagues and the other leaders who are committed for strengthening their allyship efforts in 2025? What steps you personally taking in terms of helping creating a more diverse, equitable leadership pipeline for the future?
I think every year we have a Christmas dinner, and I have one message to my company, which I think I can give out loud to anybody and everybody. My message this year was about creating a work-life balance. I hear a lot of people talk about it. Some people like myself work extra to achieve it, because there's been a time in my life that I didn't put a lot of attention to it, but now I am. And I think it's extremely important to draw a line sometimes between professional and personal lives to make sure that you take care of yourself as a person as well. And I think that companies should get involved to the right levels and encourage persons with their private aspects as much as it is with their professional goals as well. My job is not just to make my colleagues become, powerful, ambitious professional leaders, but it also to achieve their own personal goals. I'm going to start encouraging. This is the first time that I'm doing something like this, where I'm going to start encouraging my colleagues to talk about their personal goals. And I started with my own already last week. And I told them that my personal goal was to visit 100 countries in the next couple of years. And I'm close to there, and I know that I'll achieve it anyway. But I thought I'll make that a goal as a trick way to make sure that people share their own personal goals. And if they need feedback, if they need support, and they need encouragement or the space to do it, I want to be able to encourage it. Because I think, again, as I said before, if you don't give, you don't get. And I think that if you give towards your colleagues' personal goals, you get back professionally from them the equal amount of equity into the work that they put in to the company that you work in.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen back again. Okay. Any questions? No. So as we wrap up this insightful session, I really want to thank you, Ajey, for being an awesome ally. There is so much to learn from your experience, and thank you to the members who have joined today on call. In year 2024, we have successfully highlighted an Ally of the Month each month consistently, building an incredible network of champions for Women in Streaming Media Network. Today is our final Ally of the Month call for 2024, and let's celebrate a positive impact we have made in the streaming media industry with awesome Allies Network. It's been a year of collaboration and support, and we look forward to continue this momentum into the future. For more discussions and collaborations, connect with Ajey on LinkedIn. You can also email us your queries at allyship@womeninstreammedia.org. A quick reminder, our monthly remote member meetup for December month is going to happen on next Thursday, December 19th at 9 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. EST, and 4 p.m. GMT. Don't miss the remote member meetup to connect with new members, learn about more updates from each of our pillars. Your feedback is super important to us. Let us know what you liked, where we can improve by filling out the Ally of the Month feedback form, which is mentioned in the chat window. Thank you again, Ajey, for being in such an awesome, amazing ally to the Women in Streaming Media Network. Thanks, everyone, and see you next year in 2025 to meet our next awesome champions in the streaming media industry. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas to all our Allies Network and members. Your efforts have been invaluable in helping us to create a more inclusive and impactful community. And here is an exciting year ahead, full of growth and new opportunities for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Dipali. Thanks all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dipali. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.